China used to be the promised land for the $380 billion luxury goods business. Now, it is the land of losses. Today, we're looking at why the luxury business became so dependent on China and why it's suffering now. I'm Robert Frank for Inside Wealth. And luxury goods sales total about $380 billion a year. But last year they declined 2%. And the reason was China. Luxury lost 50 million consumers over the past few years. And that's
quite a few customers. This isn't very surprising for me. I think generally speaking, we're looking at a slowdown in the economy. And I think this is impacting a number of countries. And I believe that China, I have heard of some issues that they are encountering with like their housing market, etc., which I think was one of the biggest things kind of fueling growth in their economy. And so it's not super surprising that some country, especially one of the leading countries that have one of the largest GDPs, would have to be one of the first ones that are the most noticeable in this slowdown. So I think in that case, this happens to be China. But curious as to why they're going to elaborate on this one country in particular.
All because they bet so big on China. But after COVID, the young Chinese stopped buying. You had an economic crisis there, and more importantly, a psychological crisis among young, wealthy consumers. Youth unemployment soared to over 20%. And rather than...
Wow, youth unemployment at 20%, that's such a huge number. I think I was seeing a number around 6% in the US recently. I'm not sure if that's the latest up-to-date number, but 20% is huge. Like, that's astronomical. I think for comparison, while this isn't necessarily the apples-to-apples comparison of percentages, I think in the Great Depression, I believe unemployment across age groups was around 25%. So any age group being at 20+% would basically mean they're in their own Great Depression era right now, just to put that into perspective.
Buying stuff and status, young people wanted experiences and memories, so the whole market shifted. But there's another secret reason for why luxury is suffering in China, and that is the rise of local brands. From watches to jewelry to fashion, even supercars, China is now making its own luxury products. And because there's a new kind of nationalism in China that values Chinese brands, luxury companies are now winning over the European brands. So I want to tell you about a watch company in China called Atelier Wen. This is by two French people that live in China, have worked in China for years. They just launched a new watch that is titanium, that's got a double sapphire crystal, that is a gorgeous purple color that costs $3,500.
That is pretty pricey. It is a cool looking watch, but I don't know if it's $3,500 cool, but I guess that's how they're able to make this brand function.
Taking the country by storm, a watch like that from Switzerland would cost 10 times as much. And by the way, China brands...
Whoa, 10 times as much? Wow, this is getting pretty crazy in prices. I'll have to look into the watch market. Apparently, these prices are very high. I was not expecting them to be that large.
They're doing the same thing with supercars, with other luxury goods, and this is a big threat to the European companies.
That makes sense. Basically, what they were just saying was they have cheaper alternatives locally that are pretty high quality. So that would be true at any market.
The stocks of the big luxury giants like LVMH, Richemont, Kering, they all fell over 20% last year because they built so many stores in China. They were betting their future in China. And by the way, 10 years ago, China accounted for half of all luxury sales in the world. They expected that would grow. Instead, now, China accounts for only 12% of luxury goods sales. There are two kinds of companies that are doing okay in China. The first is the very high-end companies, Hermes, Cucinelli, Loro Piana. Those companies sell quiet luxury, and the really rich in China are still buying. The other companies that are doing well are those that market in a local language in products that are geared toward a Chinese customer and that actually feel more like China brands, even though they may be Chanel, Dior, or European brands. They feel, at least to China luxury consumers, more like local companies.
Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please hit like or subscribe. I will see you around.